Close your eyes for a second. One city, running the lives of millions of people spread across 3 continents, from the cold, rainy hills of Scotland all the way down to the burning deserts of Egypt, from the wild Atlantic coast of Spain to the ancient rivers of what is now Iraq. That city was Rome. And honestly, it still blows my mind every time I think about it. But Rome wasn't just a dot on a map. It was an idea, a belief that one civilization could hold the entire known world together. And for a long time, it did. Our legal systems, the languages we speak, the buildings we admire, even the calendar you use to plan this week, Rome is woven into all of it. This is that story. From republic to empire, when power went to their heads. Here's something most people don't realize. Rome wasn't always an empire. For about 500 years it was a republic. People voted. Elected officials ran things. The whole system was built around one idea: make sure no single person ever gets too powerful. They were fiercely proud of that. Kings? Absolutely not. Rome had kicked out its last king centuries earlier and wasn't going back. But then, as always happens with human beings, ambition got in the way. By the 1st century BCE, powerful generals were building private armies loyal to them personally, not to Rome, to them. Men like Marius, Sulla, and eventually Julius Caesar had soldiers who would follow their commander anywhere, even against their own government. The system just could not handle how well it was doing. In 49 BCE, then Caesar crossed the Rubicon and the Caesar situation just fell apart completely. Technically, it was treason. No general was allowed to bring armed troops into Rome. He did it anyway. It worked. When he was stabbed to death on the Senate floor 5 years later, his assassins thought they were saving the Republic. All they did was start another civil war. Out of that chaos came one survivor. Caesar had an adopted son, named Octavian. Nobody really saw him coming. And here, the Roman Empire was born. Pax Romana, 200 years of mostly not killing each other. What followed was genuinely remarkable. For roughly 200 years, from 27 BCE to 180 CE, the Roman world experienced what historians call the Pax Romana, Roman peace. Now, peace is a relative term when you're an empire constantly pushing your borders outward, but compared to what came before and after, it was a golden age. At its peak under Emperor Trajan around 117 CE, Rome controlled roughly 5 million square kilometers, about the same size as the entire continental United States. And to hold all of that together, the Romans built things that still impress engineers today. Over 80,000 kilometers of roads crisscrossed the empire, so well built that some sections are still visible 2,000 years later. 11 massive aqueducts fed fresh water into the city of Rome alone, delivering more water per person per day than many modern cities manage right now. By any measure, extraordinary. Society and slavery. The uncomfortable truth. We can't talk about Rome without being straight about this. A huge amount of what made Rome great was built on the backs of enslaved people. At the height of the empire, somewhere between 20 and 30% of the entire population of Italy were slaves. Around 3 million human beings. No rights, no freedom, no future. Working in homes, on farms, in mines. Dying in arenas for the entertainment of crowds. That's the part people sometimes skip over when they romanticize Rome. We shouldn't. At the same time, Roman society wasn't completely locked in place for everyone else. A talented soldier could rise to general. A smart merchant could build real wealth. Even some freed slaves, called freedmen, carved out genuine positions of power and influence. It was a deeply unequal world, but it wasn't entirely without movement. Rome was, in its strange way, both brutal and surprisingly fluid, often at the exact same time. The emperors. You really cannot make this up. Let's talk about the emperors. This is where the history of Rome becomes almost unbelievable. Augustus is calm and astute, running the empire as if he were a master weaver, and Marcus Aurelius spends his evenings writing philosophical meditations on how he can become a better man while running the most powerful empire on earth. These are truly incredible individuals. And then there were the others, Nero, who according to ancient sources played music while a massive fire tore through Rome and had his own mother killed. Caligula, who descended into such violence and madness within just a few years that his own bodyguards stabbed him to death. The emperor's role had become almost godlike, and I mean that literally. Emperors were declared divine after death. Some demanded worship while still alive. That kind of power attracted the best humanity had to offer, and the absolute worst. The fall, when everything comes apart at once. By the 200s, CE Rome was in serious trouble, and the problems were hitting from every direction. Barbarian tribes hammering at the borders, devastating plagues wiping out huge chunks of the population, the economy collapsing with inflation spiraling out of control, and the military had basically taken over the business of picking emperors. Between 235 and 284 CE, Rome cycled through over 50 different emperors. 50. In 50 years. Most of them died violently. Rome got by during the crisis, but afterwards it wasn't ever again like before. The Emperor Diocletian divided the empire into two regions to make governing come more easily. Later on, the Emperor Constantine moved the capital further east to form what we now call Istanbul. The divided empire of Western region exists until the year 476, when the Germans invaded and the Western Empire suffered from internal problems. The Eastern region, which we call the Byzantine Empire, existed for nearly 1,000 more years until the Turks invaded and took Constantinople in 1453. Why any of this still matters. So why are we still talking about Rome? Because it never really went away. Every time you use a calendar, speak a Romance language, sit inside a building with columns, follow a legal process, or use the words Republic or Senate, you're living inside Rome's long shadow. The empire lasted over 1,500 years in one form or another. Its ideas have lasted even longer. But let's not romanticize it too much either. Rome was built on violence, on slavery, on the brutal crushing of people who simply had the bad luck of living near a Roman border. It was magnificent and terrible, often at exactly the same time. And maybe that's exactly why it still grips us. Because Rome, more than almost any other civilization in history, shows us what human beings are truly capable of. The extraordinary and the horrifying, the visionary and the cruel. That tension never disappears, it just changes address. The eternal city may be ruins now, but its story still very much alive.